Okay, so welcome everybody. My name is Simon Blakeley. I'm the Program Director for Rethink Green. And today I'd like to speak with you about our programs and services and how we can support businesses in Sault Ste Marie as they pursue sustainability action. So before I begin, I want to acknowledge that I'm presenting from the city of North Bay, which falls within the traditional territory of the Nipissing First Nation Anishinaabe peoples. And as a newcomer and settler, I'm grateful to the many generations of people who have been stewards of this land for thousands of years. I'd also like to recognize and show appreciation for the Métis, Inuit, and other Indigenous peoples, and the many contributions they have made, shaping and strengthening our region and the country as a whole. As settlers, the recognition of the contributions and historic importance of Indigenous peoples must be considered as we look to advance commitments made to deliver on the promise and challenge of truth and reconciliation, and achieve greater understanding and harmony among our communities. Gathering remotely via Zoom also means we get to connect with people from all across Turtle Island, which means our land acknowledgements often should stretch beyond just where one person is located, which is why I would like to invite you, if comfortable, to share where you're joining us from today. And if you don't happen to know which traditional lands or territories you're joining from, I'd like to recommend native-land.ca as a great resource. The website features many maps of territories, languages, treaties that many of us may refer to as Canada. So I'm now going to give a brief overview of what we'll be presenting on today. First, I'll provide an introduction to Rethink Green as an organisation and what we aspire to achieve in the years to come. Next, I'll provide an overview of the many opportunities that exist for businesses to get involved through eco-entrepreneurship, including a summary of the business case and the need to transition to a low-carbon future. Then dive more into our Green Economy North programme and how we can support businesses in making this shift. This will include a summary of our service offerings and the milestone process that we've adopted as a designated hub of Green Economy Canada. I'll then ask a local member of the programme, Robert Burns, Chief Executive Officer at the Sault YMCA, to say a few words about his experience as a member of our programme so far, and the wise aspirations to achieve enhanced energy savings and introduce more sustainable ways of doing business. Last but not least, I'll call upon Emily Cormier, who many of you may know is the city's climate change coordinator, to say a few words about the city, what the city is doing, and how the Green Economy North programme can support your journey to net zero. And then we'll open it up to some questions. So some of you may be familiar, but others may be asking, what is Rethink Green? So we're a non-profit environmental programs incubator, originally based in Sudbury, but now providing programs and services across northeastern Ontario. We aim to connect people, ideas, and resources, and help find solutions to both create and build more sustainable communities. As an organisation, our goal by 2030 is to have built an engaged network of champions across 500 communities and organisations in Northern Ontario. We recognise the opportunities that exist for Northern Ontario communities to demonstrate leadership on climate change in ways that uphold Indigenous rights and traditional knowledge, while supporting the integration and inclusion of all peoples within the emerging low-carbon economy. So Rethink Green offers a variety of programs and services to support action on climate change at different scales. I'll be talking more about our Green Economy North and Smart Green Communities programs shortly, but for now I just wanted to highlight two other programs that may be of interest. Our new Northern Homes Energy Assessment program provides home energy audits to EnerGuide standards. The programme has already been rolled out in the city of Greater Sudbury, and we can now also serve the city of North Bay, plus Manitoulin Island. In due course, we hope to also bring this programme to Sault Ste Marie. Secondly, during the pandemic, Rethink Green advanced our low-carbon retrofit project. This was a real estate-led initiative which envisages Rethink Green leading by example through the development of a new net zero or low-carbon building to serve the city of Greater Sudbury and the wider region. The aim is to create a collaborative space where regional sustainability champions can gather to share and develop ideas and help move Northern Ontario towards that low-carbon future. These principles and goals can also be applied to other nonprofits and businesses which may be seeking to combine their assets and share a space. So in this regard, Rethink Green is also equipped to support the development of retrofit projects as a third-party consultant on a fee-for-service basis. So it's not unrealistic to say the world is facing several major crises right now. From the global pandemic to the rising cost of living, and from the disruption of supply chains, famine, social and political unrest. Global organizations such as the World Economic Forum have suggested this pivotal moment of change may represent the beginning of a fourth industrial revolution and our shift to a cleaner, greener future. However, such is the continued pace of growth on the global scale, that global greenhouse gas emissions are generally understood to have only plateaued in 2020, despite the lockdowns. And what's more is, according to new analysis released by the International Energy Agency earlier this year, as the world economy rebounded from COVID-19 in 2021, global energy-related carbon dioxide equivalent emissions rose again by 6% to 36.3 billion tons, which is their highest ever recorded level. And having reached a bit of an impasse in Glasgow, global leaders have agreed to reconvene in November 2022 in Sharm el-Sheikh, Egypt, with a view to strengthening some of the existing climate legislation, targets and investments already made. As a backdrop to these proceedings, numerous research reports published by the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, the IPCC, and others indicate we now have less than 28 years to reduce our emissions to net zero or face some potentially damaging effects of climate change. The current barometer of progress is to ensure global annual average temperatures continue to fall within 1.5 to 2 degrees Celsius of pre-industrial levels. So with global relations strained, and COP27 could well be seen as a make or break summit, setting the agenda for the decades to come. And what might those specific climate change impacts mean for people in Northern Ontario? Back in 2019, the Federation of Canadian Municipalities and the Independent Electricity Systems Operator funded our 2-year research project for Manitoulin Island and the North Shore. This research project allowed us to develop 2 regional energy and emissions plans, or REEPs as they became known. In developing the REEPs, our team engaged municipal, township and First Nation leaders, businesses, community organizations and voluntary associations across 25 communities to understand what energy planning means to them and how energy conservation applies in the context of climate change. We also identified ways that we can both adapt and mitigate to its predicted effects. The plans resulted in the development of baseline energy and emissions inventories for 25 communities, including Manitoulin Island, from Coburn Island to Wick-Wemicong, and along the North Shore from the township of the North Shore to the township of Nairn and Hyman. Greenhouse gas emissions data we collected was entered into climate modeling software. This did present a fairly bleak picture of the future if the business as usual approach should continue. From the model, we now know that predicted effects of climate change in Northern Ontario could result in an estimated annual average increase in temperature between 3 to 4 degrees Celsius, leading to unpredictable and extreme weather patterns. Predicted effects of climate change in Northern Ontario include warmer winters, perhaps characterized by severe ice storms, ice melting, refreezing, ice damming, accidents and damage to property and infrastructure. Also less predictable summers with more flooding and erosion, some eutrophication, diminished water quality, vector-borne diseases, heat waves, and droughts leading to potential energy blackouts. But what's most important to note is that these predicted impacts need only occur in the event of a business as usual scenario. The future can still therefore be positive if we all work together to address the issue of climate change by adapting and mitigating the risks. And from these studies, we were able to identify a series of best practices, including strategies, policies, plans, projects through which businesses, municipalities, and households can achieve significant gains. And the good news is there are already plenty being done here in Northern Ontario in the way of research and development and the implementation of new projects and solutions. And these are the ones that we want to identify and celebrate among our networks. So as the focus does continue to shift away from COVID-19 recovery type grants, there'll be an even greater focus on the need to prioritize ways to reduce our dependency on fossil fuels and enable new climate-friendly initiatives that lead to more healthy, active, and sustainable communities. So before we get down to business, I actually want to hear from you. My question is, have you considered adopting sustainable business practices? If so, perhaps you might be willing to share some examples in the chat. Maybe you're focused on mitigation, reducing your total impact, or perhaps adaptation, maybe adopting some natural solutions to help withstand some of the predicted effects. Maybe you're involved in stewardship type activities in your community. Either way, we'd love to hear about it. Please share in the chat, and we'll loop back to that at the end of this presentation. So while you ponder that, let's also take a look at what it means to become a sustainable business and some of the benefits of adopting such practices. Sustainable businesses are ones which support local communities and economies. They also strive to create more than just profits, as they also consider the true impact of the business on society and the planet. This is what we often refer to as the triple bottom line: profit, people, and planet. So put simply, sustainable businesses have the power to mitigate the risks and challenges of climate change, contribute to the health and well-being of our communities, abide by a set of values and aspirations centered around sustainable consumption and production practices, while also accelerating our journey to a low-carbon future. So the Ernst & Young Future Consumer Index survey recently found that sustainability is quickly climbing to the top of consumers' priorities, as most Canadian consumers, 61%, plan to pay more attention to the environmental impact of what they consume. These results are reported at a time when Canadians are also re-evaluating other areas of their lives, including affordability. While this raises questions and perhaps creates some tensions over who should pay for sustainability, the survey also found that 69% of Canadian consumers expect companies to solve them. When it comes to their purchasing, and this means tackling these issues, should be seen as a top-tier priority for businesses all across the country. In 2019, a study by Nielsen IQ found that 73% of global consumers are willing to change their consumption habits to lessen their negative impact on the environment. It also found that sustainable product sales have grown by nearly 20% since 2014. Millennials in particular are more willing to pay for products that contain sustainable ingredients or products that have social responsibility claims. If your organization commits to sustainable products and practices, it could gain market share by converting sustainability-minded people into customers, so increasing your sales. Greening your business also reduces your total business costs over time. Sometimes it's as simple as using more efficient lighting to save money on energy bills. Like, for example, the Intercontinental Hotel in Toronto. They executed a complete LED lighting retrofit, which resulted in a 20% reduction in electricity and achieved $270,000 of savings annually. Other opportunities might take some upfront investment, like converting solar energy or installing energy management technologies, for example. But the evidence shows that they pay off in the long run. And as a further example, Forest Lane and Lakeside Place Apartments implemented on-site energy monitoring and management technology, which resulted in a 6% annual electricity reduction, saving $56,000 per year. As provincial and federal governments offer various grants, rebates, and other incentives for going green, which can help businesses offset the costs of these investments, Green Economy North is always on the lookout for these opportunities. We share them readily with our members in the form of monthly updates, newsletters as a perk of membership. Being purpose-driven also provides a competitive advantage. A list of 500 companies produced by Standard & Poor's indicates businesses with sustainability measures integrated in their business growth strategies are performing very well. Indications are these businesses can achieve up to 18% higher returns on their investments because they're managing and planning for climate change. Speaking of investments, over 3,300 investors have signed the Principles for Responsible Investment Charter, which requires commitments to solve environmental, social, and corporate governance issues. This represents more than $103 trillion of assets currently under management. This figure has grown by more than 15 times since 2006. So as you can see, embracing sustainability also improves a business's brand and reputation, both externally and internally. It makes your business or organization more attractive to clients and investors, and supports organizations in their efforts to recruit, retain, and motivate talented employees. According to a survey conducted by United Way Winnipeg, 79% of millennials consider a company's social and environmental commitments when deciding where to work. In fact, 76% would choose to work for a socially responsible company, even if the salary would be less than that of their competitors. And 83% will be more loyal to a company that helps them contribute to important issues. Moving on, some of you may be familiar with the term circular economy. To pursue circular economic practices means to reimagine our traditional linear economic systems and to squash some of the norms around take, make, waste. This is often applied in the business environment. It's a way of minimizing the use of natural resources, manufactured goods, and other material inputs, and helping reduce the total amount of waste and emissions. This process typically involves the sharing, leasing, reuse, repair, refurbishing, or recycling of materials and products within a system for as long as possible. And if you're looking for a place to start, often taking a bird's eye view of your business model is the easiest first step. But when people first learn about the circular economy, they seem to think that it's an opportunity for closing the gap is recycling. And they're not wrong, because recycling does play a big role. What people don't realize is that every single node in the diagram you can see on the screen presents an opportunity for improvement and sustainability. So it's important to rethink or reimagine a product or service life cycle and components at each and every node in the wheel. That ensures the most circularity and sustainability. This could be refusing to use harmful products, adjusting a product's design to last longer, reducing the material intensity of a product, reusing, repairing, or refurbishing products, or strengthening recycling and repurposing techniques and strategies. The possibilities really are endless, and circularity also helps build local and regional capital across a variety of industries and sectors. I'm going to give you an example. Interface is the world's largest designer and maker of commercial modular carpets, but they don't actually sell carpets anymore. The customers buy the service of having carpet on the floor. So Interface is in charge of maintaining and repairing the carpet. They do that very efficiently because it's their specialty, and they control the entire process. They also use tiles that can be replaced one at a time, so only the spots that need to be replaced get ripped up and renewed. The old tiles go back to the factory to be recycled, where new tiles are then made using 98% recycled or bio-based content. Businesses which provide products as a service are incentivized to ensure and invest in the long-term durability and reliability of the products they provide in order to save costs. Most homeowners in Ontario currently rent their water heaters from Direct Energy or Reliance Home Comfort for a monthly fee. And if you're one of those people, you're not just paying for the convenient billing, same-day service, instant access to replacement parts and labor, and the peace of mind of not having unexpected costs. You're actually also participating in the circular economy. Through its business-based activities, Reliance is reducing the number of water heaters thrown away and bought, improving the use intensity of each individual water heater, extending the lifespan of its products, and also pursuing design upgrades to further reduce the need for maintenance. Bringing it a bit close to home, I'd like to highlight one of our existing Green Economy North members, Split Rail Brewing Co. It's taken some great strides to become more sustainable. Founded in 2012, Split Rail Brewing Co. is Manitoulin Island's first craft brewery. More recently, Split Rail expanded its product line further, experimenting with some craft sodas made from maple syrup and native berries sourced from the island. Green Economy North previously supported Split Rail in accessing funding under the Government of Canada's Climate Action Incentive Fund. This helped Split Rail purchase an energy-efficient canning line to eliminate the transportation costs and emissions associated with bringing a mobile canning line up from Toronto, which is nearly 600 kilometers away. The business is also working on eliminating waste by switching up its packaging and reducing the amount of grain left over from the brewing process. It delivers spent grain to local farms for use as feedstock and local bakers for use in bread production. So through local sourcing, the end product could actually be served up again as hot dogs for consumption in the brewery. So now I've summarized the key issues and shared some success stories to demonstrate that a more sustainable economy is possible. I'd like to inform you about our Green Economy North program. Green Economy North was originally established in 2016, and since this time, we've served approximately 60 Northern Ontario-based businesses. Green Economy North remains Northeastern Ontario's only membership-based sustainable business program. We equip businesses, nonprofits, and the broader public sector with the knowledge, information, and tools they need to pivot and succeed in the green economy. As a program, we offer affordable and tailored support to help businesses set and meet their emission reduction targets. We deliver advisory and research-based programming, organize and deliver business and community-oriented events, encourage knowledge sharing and collaboration among our virtual networks, and recognize and celebrate the progress made by our members. So once the impact of a business or organization has been quantified, and that's as a carbon dioxide equivalent measurement, we delve deeper and we assist our members in producing action plans and setting targets that help them quantify and reduce those emissions and achieve cost savings. By working with our partners, which includes program members, different levels of government, academia, utility companies, community groups, and others, we're leading the conversation and supporting the shift towards a more sustainable way of doing business. Green Economy North actually forms a hub within the wider Green Economy Canada network, which serves communities and regions across Canada. The network's reach currently extends from Edmonton to New Brunswick and from London to Ottawa. And in this wider network, hubs share best practices and case studies, plus other information to support members in making progress. Green Economy Canada leverages funding opportunities also that value the network as a whole. And they've also facilitated expert working groups such as the Net Zero Manufacturing Project and Sustainable IT Procurement Project, through which participants received up to $20,000 of free technical expertise from energy management professionals specific to those areas of work. And today, Green Economy Canada Network has engaged over 300 businesses, set more than 70 targets, and secured commitments to reduce more than 200,000 tons of greenhouse gases. Close to home, on March the 10th this year, Green Economy North announced that we have received approximately $775,000 in funding from the Federal Economic Development Agency for Northern Ontario. This new investment from FEDNOR is enabling us to expand our program and services across Northeastern Ontario, from Sault Ste Marie to Mattawa, and from James Bay to Gravenhurst. And through a combination of virtual, online training and in-person services, members benefit from expert coaching and advice, and the use of our carbon accounting tools to help them measure, manage, reduce, and save on their emissions. Through this new funding, we're also introducing a cohort-based model where businesses and organizations can benefit from various collaborative opportunities to learn from each other as we collectively set and achieve those targets together. Our first cohort closed in April, and we were delighted to recruit 15 new members into the fold. Here they are. So as you can see, our growing list of members includes those diverse businesses really involved in science, manufacturing, industry, food, beverage, leisure, tourism, religion, academia, waste management, and renewable technologies. And in this growing network, we will continue to support collaboration and new connections as our members pursue project-based solutions. As a designated hub, Green Economy North is responsible for guiding Northern Ontario members through our tried and tested milestone process. And you can see the flow chart on the screen here. So you might be wondering, what are these milestones and how do we do this? How do we help? So milestone 1 is get engaged. At this stage, members are oriented at our kickoff meeting and get to know the network. We collect data or emission sources, and then we take the necessary first steps. This stage really is all about empowering and enabling our members to understand their own footprint. The benefits and services associated with this milestone include Climate 101 workshops and information sessions, public recognition when you join the cohort, subscription to our monthly newsletter, access to Rethink Green's resource and summary note archive, and introductions to professional networking opportunities. We bring in guest speakers, share industry examples, attend conferences, workshops, and summarize our research and findings among members. Milestone 2 is measure your footprint. We equip our members with emissions inventory training, and we conduct baseline energy walkthroughs of the facilities and produce greenhouse gas emissions inventory reports using our impact tracking tool. So to do this, members share their utility bills. This information is referenced to understand where there's additional room for improvement. Also, financial statements can provide an indication as to where energy gains can be made. A detailed list of recommendations for achieving energy efficiency gains and reducing emissions is then communicated back to our members. This information is generally required to support grant applications. You have to know what is your baseline, what is your footprint, before you can identify the most appropriate measures to help reduce that. So milestone 3 is set a target. Members are offered guidance in evaluating their impact, action planning tools and resources, support mobilizing their green teams, and assistance outlining the greenhouse gas emission reduction goals and pathways. Milestone 4 is achieve results. So from here on out, the cohort has quarterly check-ins where we get to review your progress and provide updates in the form of new resources, incentives, or opportunities to succeed. We provide continued mentorship and support, offer nationwide networking and skill building opportunities, recognize your progress in media, industry publications, and our social media, do some storytelling, digital content, maybe it's written profiles, video features, podcast interviews. And we also celebrate your successes through our annual sustainability awards. What kind of action might businesses or communities look to pursue at this time? With the price of natural gas and other fossil fuels now increasing exponentially across the world, and the relative cost of renewables decreasing, there's now an urgent need to reduce our total energy demands through greater efficiencies. To adopt alternative technologies such as electrifying our existing lighting, heating, and cooling systems. Maybe it's evaluating the effectiveness of existing commercial equipment, appliances, and fleet. Or introducing adaptive low-impact development solutions to better restore our balance with nature. At the property scale, we know that the cost and payback in solar and battery-based technologies is now again becoming highly attractive to investors. Local solar installers here in Northern Ontario report record levels of interest and sales. Energy audits will generally be required in support of these grant funding applications where desired. At the community scale, the installation of microgrids, powered by renewable energy sources, could significantly reduce the amount of energy lost through transmission between communities. The development of net zero buildings could add an extra layer of resilience to communities impacted by climate change. From an EV perspective, the government of Canada has announced that fuel-powered cars and light trucks will be banned from sale as of 2035. And in Northern Ontario, researchers continue to identify new sources of rare earth metals, such as lithium, which can be used to develop battery-based technologies or other components used in electric vehicles. There have also been several announcements lately regarding new funding streams to help communities and organizations mitigate and adapt to our changing climate, such as the renewal and upgrade of community assets. As national and global carbon pricing systems continue to evolve over the next few years, some companies may also consider the use of carbon offsets to help reduce their total impact and costs. So as noted earlier, Rethink Green recently received some funding from FedNor, which is supporting our expansion across the region. As part of this, we'll also be introducing a microgrant program this fall, which will support increased action on the ground. The primary objective is to fill an identified gap within the funding ecosystem. The guidelines will be developed over the summer months, but the indications are that the funding could be applied to a wide range of innovative project-based solutions, with costs allocated to equipment, materials, external labor, and planning-related activities. So our team can also work with you to help identify or perhaps leverage other grant funding opportunities to help maximize the reward return on your investment. So the microgrant program will be accessible to businesses, nonprofits, the broader public, and First Nation communities only. Municipalities and townships are not eligible at this time. Participating organizations seeking to access this funding must be registered members of our Green Economy North program in good standing. We're also excited to share the news our partners at Green Economy Canada have introduced a multi-year electric vehicle charger incentive program. The $4 million EV charger incentive program will provide organizations with up to 50% back on the cost of buying and installing EV charger stations to a maximum of $100,000. This includes a wide range of charger types, and the funding is open to all organizations to apply. For anyone still unsure about EVs, they're actually a great way to demonstrate your commitment to sustainability among your customer base and employees. Owners of EV charging stations benefit from enhanced property values. And as we continue to transition to a cleaner economy, electric vehicles will not only help businesses reduce their emissions, but better manage their carbon footprint and costs. Taking steps now to install EV chargers and adopt EVs will also help future-proof your business against changing legislation. Funding will remain in place through to 2024, with applications reviewed on a first-come, first-served basis. Applications submitted in the first half of 2022 are now being reviewed as a priority. Those submitted in the second half will not now be determined until 2023. Such is this demand that interested organizations are encouraged to get their applications in early. At this time, we also await the outcome of another major application, which, if successful, will enable us to introduce a mining-specific cohort. If approved, the cohort will include a series of value-added opportunities to engage the mining service and supply sector, to better understand the issues and challenges they face, and provide some more custom training and education to help them reduce their emissions and costs. Notwithstanding the application, we do plan to launch another mixed-use, mixed-sector cohort this fall, and the deadline for members to sign up and be a member is Friday, 30th of September, 2022 at 5 p.m. And we actually do encourage people to sign up early because places will be allocated on a first-come, first-served basis. To that extent, members that choose to sign up now will receive complimentary services over the summer months. And then the formal training will commence in October. So as I say, Friday, 30th September at 5 p.m. is the absolute deadline for the next cohort. And in order to become a member, members pay annual fees to be part of the program. It typically takes about 18 months to 2 years to complete the milestone process. But we do encourage long-term memberships so we can keep monitoring and support your progress as you maybe refine your action plans or reevaluate priorities over time. The way that annual membership fees are calculated is based on a chart held by Reefing Green. So this really tries to determine what the overall energy intensity of the businesses that we're working with. So the two pieces of information that we require is what is the total floor space area in square footage, and that's for buildings owned or leased, and what is the total number of employees employed by the business or organization. And that can be determined as a full-time equivalent. Now we can work with you to help determine what those amounts are, so don't be shy about them. So we do require that information to provide quotes for membership, and anybody interested in receiving a quote can complete the membership inquiry form, which is provided on our website at www.reefinggreen.ca/Green Economy North. So to summarize, members of our programs quickly learn that becoming more sustainable not only means greater efficiencies, enhanced resilience, and reduced waste and emissions, but also decreased costs in the medium to longer term. And in joining the program, members can also demonstrate leadership through their commitment to sustainability while accessing a wide range of tools and resources. For those interested and would like to learn more or perhaps receive a direct quote for membership, here is my contact information for reference. With all that said, I'd now like to invite Robert Burns. I will just remove my presentation here. I can see him then to unmute himself and maybe just say a few words on why the Y chose to join our program and some of the energy efficiency gains that they're looking to achieve as we move forward.
Thanks, Simon. Let me see here. Just changing my screen for a second here. The why, the reason we joined, well, actually it was an accident, really. We were speaking with the City of Sault Ste. Marie's sustainability coordinator, Emily Cormier, about something totally unrelated. And she happened to bring it up and made the introduction. And a little history with what we're dealing with here at our YMCA. The building is 57 years old. So much of the infrastructure is 57 years old. Some of it's a little newer, but for the most part, it's pretty old. And COVID made us realize, like we've been around for about 122 years in town, but COVID made us really start to question our sustainability, which sounds odd considering how long we've been around, our resilience, our efficiencies. And couple that with when I took over as CEO and I started looking at some of our costs and maintenance, we realized that had to be addressed. We needed to become more efficient to ensure that resiliency and sustainability. The other reason we did join was, and it may be a selfish reason, but it is to increase our funding opportunities. Being a charity, we rely a fair bit on various funding opportunities that come along, both or at all levels of government, as well as private funding opportunities that aren't government sponsored. And it's a lot easier, I think, to make a funding request if you have a project you'd like to do, if you can actually have a target. You can say, not only is this going to provide this for us, but by the way, it's going to reduce our emissions this much in line with, say, the municipalities or the country's goals for carbon emissions and sustainability, climate sustainability. and it'll only help. So we did join. We made the decision. We talked about it, our senior management team, and we decided that, you know what, it was worth it. Worst case scenario, we would get a pretty good idea and indication of where the low hanging fruit was, because like Simon said, obviously the changes that a lot of businesses and organizations would have to do cost money. There's an initial investment. You know, like I think of ourselves, he gave the example of the Intercontinental Hotel. A few years ago, the Y did a little retrofit with our lighting. And yes, there's savings every month, but we haven't really reached the point where the initial investment has been paid, but it will come. But we did decide it was in our best interest to do it and jump in there and at least identify the low-hanging fruit that we could start addressing right away, and maybe start lowering our budgeted costs for maintenance and repair, and then work on those funding opportunities for the bigger projects. So right now we're at, I guess it would have been the middle of milestone 2, if I'm not mistaken, Simon, where we
that's right.
We did we went to our you know, kickstart meeting. We've been, I guess, March, April, May, June, maybe a little over 4 months as a member. We did our kickstart meeting, then we did our scoping checklist, where we were on a call and we ran through basically what runs the building. Everything from, you know, our gas, our electricity, our water, number of employees, our pretty much everything. And most of you can imagine a YMCA, we've got pretty much every tab got checked off. We have a pool, a gymnasium, like 7 HVAC units in operation, and it's kind of crazy. So then when they did send me the data input form where we have to start inputting all of our data, that was eye-opening in and of itself when I started actually putting pen to paper. And if any of you who do join, you'll find that when you do get that, I think that's what it was called, a data input form. You're going to be overwhelmed. You're going to say, oh my God, this is a lot of work. It actually wasn't. The majority of it, I actually did myself. I didn't have to pawn off on other managers to do. I just called them in a couple of times when I just needed wording for certain aspects of the facility. The only difficult part for us, and some of you may find this if you decide to join, is that they ask us for 3 years worth of information. So for example, PUC, they ask for 3 years worth of the bills, and it's easy enough to do. Businesses, organizations, we keep the information for auditing and revenue and taxes purposes. But the problem in our case was that because of COVID, we were shut down for the better part of 12 months off and on. So I had to go deeper to get accurate numbers, because the numbers I was going to be putting in there were not accurate if we were closed. And I wanted accurate numbers on what our costs were. So that was a little bit of work there, having to go into the archives room and dig through old storage. But the actual input of the information wasn't a problem at all. And we got that done. And then Simon was here, I guess, about 3 weeks ago. And he actually did a walkthrough with myself and our facility manager. And he went underneath the pool into all the blood and gut areas of the building, and walked out of here with probably a better understanding of what he's dealing with. And now we're just waiting for that scorecard, that report to come back. And then we can start moving on to that milestone number 3, where we actually set some targets, and not only set the targets, but we have a baseline to work with for any funding opportunities that come along, and see where we can start and see how we can improve and start saving money and make sure we're still around for another 122 years. And that's pretty much our story for the most part. And the other thing, it's not just about funding opportunities, being able to say that you have a target, and this is where you're at. And it also helps, I don't know how many of you are nonprofits or charities, if any, but it also helps with donors, because we rely heavily on donors, and we can say, this is what we're trying to achieve to become more efficient. And yeah, so that's, like I say, pretty much where we're at and why we joined. And yeah, we're just doing as we're told, following the instructions, and sticking to the program, and see how it goes. And I'm pretty sure by the end of the calendar year, our membership will probably already have paid for itself. So.
Excellent. Well, just from that, Marie, I can tell that you already have an excellent understanding of the program and what it's about, and that, you know, you do have to have some skin in the game. There is that kind of process to begin with, to go and, you know, retrieve those records. And as Robert referred to the last, like, say, 3 years of data, we know that COVID did, you know, shook everything up. Like, there may be some businesses that consume more energy and others consume less. So it's not necessarily a true reflection of what it is in ordinary times. So we were glad that Robert took the initiative to go back and look at other times when the building was in full use, and use that as a way to draw out some of these averages, let's say. And that's what we really need to do. It's they are bold estimations, but they're pretty accurate, because we know you paid for it, and we know that's the consumption. It's all there in your utility bills and information, but half of us don't often take the time to really study or understand what that means, in the same way that if you bought a new product, you're not going to read the whole pages full of instructions, unless you've got lots of time. But as Robert said, you know, develop a process, get a filing system in place, and understand really that this is the direction of travel of the world. Carbon accounting is going to become an intrinsic part of doing business as we move forward. So the sooner that we build knowledge and capacity in that space, the sooner we can be more effective at benefiting from that. Is there anything else you wanted to add there, Robert? Or?
Not really. I mean, you'd probably have more to add in about 6 months.
Yeah.
When we actually start setting some targets and goals together, and seeing where this is taking us.
Well, we appreciate you being diligent and getting that done. And it's probably the less fun side of the program, but we can now get really creative. And because we hoping to bring in a lot more businesses in, we have a target of 100 businesses over the next 2 years. And we're going to have all kinds of creative sessions of brainstorming and networking events, business forums, where we can bring you all together. And even outside the parameters of what we're trying to do with you individually, you can form your own partnerships or evaluate, you know, how can you all help each other achieve these emissions goals at other times. So I think there'll be benefits that way as well. So I'm just going to ask Emily to unmute herself as well, and see if Emily would like to say a few words.
Sure. Thanks, Simon. Nice to see you, Robert.
I didn't even realize you were on the call.
Quietly waiting in the wings. Yeah, so just for a bit of context, I know that Simon spoke to the city's target and greenhouse gas emissions plan, but for those who may not know, in 2020, our city council here in Sault Ste. Marie unanimously approved our community greenhouse gas reduction plan, which has a long-term target of net zero emissions by 2050. The key word here is community. So this is really going to be an all hands on deck. And climate change, it affects everyone. Simon did an excellent job really speaking to the two different pillars: mitigation, so that's reducing your emissions, but also adaptation. So trying to be more prepared and resilient for a future which is going to be very different than what we've been used to when it comes to weather, how we build things, how we live, how we get places. It's going to change. And there's scientific data, which I appreciated you laying a good baseline there, Simon, that really speaks to that. But, you know, I think we all really need to work together. Businesses in our community are a great avenue. You know, you're looking at your bottom line, you're thinking about your profit. And at the end of the day, the two biggest things that are going to cost you are human resources costs as well as operational costs. And this program can really help you out, especially with the operational cost. And while you're doing that, you'll also be reducing your carbon footprint as an organization. At the city, we have a great list on our website of different programs and initiatives that will align with some of the projects that Rethink Green speaks to you about when you're going through this initiative, if you decide to participate in their program. And we're also very happy to support you, answer any questions, and direct you on your low carbon journey as well. So that's about it for me. I'll turn it back over to you, Simon, but thanks for the opportunity to do a plug for our plan.
No worries. And just to say again, Emily, it's an absolute pleasure to work with you. And she makes my job so much easier because just, you know, as a program like ours, it's been given this gift, if you call it that, by FedNor to expand across the region. You need to find allies, friends, or champions in this industry, as we say. So Emily is certainly that, and she does great work for the city. And I hope all of you on the call, if you haven't connected with her one-on-one, I'm sure you have, is that you take that opportunity and just understand a bit more about what the city is doing for you, and hopefully we can work together.
I'll put my email in the chat just in case anybody wants to get in touch.
So there is just a few minutes, so we're going to kind of just open it up. I mean, I raised that question kind of earlier about, you know, is anybody already involved in certain activities that they're proud about, want to share, or does anybody have any questions on the presentation that I did, or for Robert or for Emily? We just have a few minutes spare. If you're not comfortable speaking to everybody, that's fine. You can always follow up with me individually afterwards. But yeah, feel free to unmute and put yourself on camera if you have some questions.
Maybe while people are thinking, I'll pop in. There was a lot of information, really great information that you shared today, Simon, but maybe you can just do a quick recap on really what the next step would be. Basic, you know, what do we do? Who do we email? If there's a business on here that might be interested to learn more about the program, what it might cost them, etc. Just a quick reminder, if you will.
Yes, absolutely. So I was just going to put my email address in the chat like everybody else is doing here. Reach out, don't be shy. I can certainly answer any questions you may have, but what we need in order to determine your membership fee for the year would be to complete that membership inquiry form. So really it's to go to our website at rethinkgreen.ca, and under programs is the Green Economy North program. And in that there's a form. It's all integrated into the website. Come straight to my inbox with all of your information, and I can reach out direct to you after that. And we make the whole process seamless from there. We get you onboarded with this kickoff meeting that Robert mentioned, where we really get to understand you individually and get a lot of your kind of baseline facts and knowledge about your information all documented on file. And then it's after that that we proceed to the kind of group-based training sessions. So we do get to know you first. We don't just throw you into a classroom with strangers. So that deadline is September the 30th. So we do encourage people to sign up early, so you're not disappointed, because it's first come, first served. We can only do, say, 15 to 20 members per cohort. And there's already, I'd say 5 to 10 businesses from the last round that have demonstrated an interest in joining this time round. So yeah, we'd love to have you part of it. And on that, if there are any questions, we can take a couple, otherwise call it a day. Okay. Right, so with that, so I'm not seeing any right now. So as I say, do feel free to reach out to me or to Emily at any time, and we'll gladly answer any questions that you might have, or, you know, help crush any kind of worries that you may have really regarding, you know, what's coming down the pipeline. There are solutions to this, there is funding, there are positive examples of ways that we can do this, and you might just find that your business or organization more profitable and generally a happier place to work afterwards. So we're grateful for your time today, and wish everybody a good day.
Thanks, Simon.
Okay.
Thanks, Simon.
Have a good one.
Care.
Bye.
Take care.